You guys hearing me?
Yes.
Yeah, we're hearing you, man.
Hello.
We're
All
hearing you.
right.
We're hearing you.
All right. All right. Wow, Tashika. All right. So
Right?
for every wow. All right. So for each three letter words that you have, you get 1 point. So anybody else would like to share? Anybody else would like to share?
I've noticed art isn't there. So A-R-T, art.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We're here.
Art, T, sat,
Mm-hmm.
rat, bet. Yeah, that's what I have right now.
Okay, all right. Denise, you have any? No? All right, so I see Roshana having cat, bra, eat, and sat, bat, cat, tan, ranty, ban, ace, b, rat, art, set, cab. All right, nice, nice. So you just put the amount that you have beside it. All right, now we're moving on to 4 letters. So for 4 letters, you will get 3 points for the 4 letters. All right, so I'm giving you another minute now for you to do the 4 letter words. All right, time's up. Let me hear the 4 letter words. East, Kane, Sear. Okay, I see them coming in. Nobody else? Anybody else? East, Best, and Seat, Sent. Anybody else? All right, so this looks like Tashika is in the seat for winning. All right, so we'll do one more round, and that is a 5 and above. So you get 5 points for those. All right, so another 1 minute, and then we'll be through. All right, time is up. Let me see those 5 and above. So breast cancer, races, cranes, cancers. Anybody else? Nobody else found any words? It's all right. Javario, brain still failing? All right, Javario. So I think we can actually give Tashika the ratings that Tashika have the vocabulary for this game. So thank you guys for participating, and I will turn back things over to Javario.
All right. So thank you, Tasha, for that icebreaker. Just pray for me, guys. Just pray for the brain, you know. Tasha has it like that. What would Najani say, Tasha? Some tomato juice. All right. So we'll be now going into our introduction of our guest speaker. I'm just going to ask Ashika to just do a brief bio, her brief bio, and then we're just going to ask her to come on and start her presentation. Tashika.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes,
can.
we're hearing.
Okay, great. Well, the rain is falling, so I hope you can hear me clearly through. All right. So, Miss Jonique Tyrell is an applied psychologist with more than 7 years experience as a researcher. Her research interests surround health psychology, relationships, group dynamics, and organizational behavior. She also has experience in working in the higher education industry as a teaching assistant. She was taught at the UMona and Western Jamaica campus, as well as the UTech Western campus. So everyone, please put up your virtual round of applause and your emojis as we welcome our speaker for today, Miss Jonique.
Hi, a pleasant good afternoon, everyone. Can you give me a moment? I'm just trying to share my presentation with you. Thank you for the hearty welcome. I was just listening to your icebreaker and I found it fun with I couldn't keep up with your brains and all that you were doing, but it's nice to know that you found a way to keep yourselves active and in a social community in this time. I'm trying to wait on access to share. Okay, so while we wait on that, can I go ahead and start my presentation, or do you guys want to see something? I know we have visual learners.
You can go ahead. I have made you co-host, so you can go ahead and share.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. Okay. So today I'll be presenting on breast cancer and its effects on mental health. And the first thing I wanted to discuss with you guys is what really is cancer. Cancers are just cells that we already have in our bodies, And what it really is just it multiplies abnormally, right? So it contains something that is a little bit different from regular cells. The nucleus is usually larger in these cells. It contains extra DNA and nutrients that allows it to keep multiplying rapidly. And so even though our bodies are usually used to having cells, and if there's any issues, our immune system will be able to fight them off due to the rapidly multiplying nature of cells, cancerous cells. Our body is not able to fight them off as we would like them to. So we'd have to rely on other medical treatments in order to get better or to stay alive. The more malignant the tumor is the larger the nucleus and the darker it is, which means it contains more nutrients, and so it's able to multiply more rapidly. And that's not what we would want if we have a cancer diagnosis. So according to the World Health Organization, in 2020, cancer alone accounted for approximately 10 million deaths. And of the new cases of cancer that was found in 2020, the number one would have been breast cancer, based on the statistics you're seeing right there. And this is from World Health Organization, followed by the lung, colon and colorectal, prostate, and then cancers of the skin. Okay. Now, in terms of the new cases, that those are persons who have just been diagnosed. In terms of cancer-related deaths in 2020, breast cancer would have been the number 5th cancer-related death worldwide, with a total of 685,000 persons dying from breast cancer. And this is the statistics that we've seen from World Health Organization for last year. Now, in terms of the survival rate, somebody who has been diagnosed with cancer, and I'm deliberately going through statistics and medical issues here now, because I want to spend majority of my time discussing really what it is about cancer when somebody gets that diagnosis and what it means for them psychosocially once they've gotten that diagnosis afterwards. Okay, so a 5-year relative survival rate for somebody who has just been diagnosed in today, due to new medicine and ultrasounds, biopsies, and other medical detection, early detection and medical treatment, is now 95%. That's for 5 years. It drops to about 80% for 10-year survival rate. But even though it might not be as much as we would like it to be 10 years after the diagnosis, it is still better today than it would have been in, say, 1982, right? So what this really means is that the death rates have been decreasing since 1990, again, due to the medical advances and the treatments that we have available now that we didn't have then. Now, I want you to pay attention to this slide here, right? And these are some signs that you have to watch out for. This is one, any new lumps that you would have feel in your breast, any changes to the nipple or the areola, which is the dark space around the actual nipple. If the nipple is now changing position, like it's pointing downwards rather than up, or any new direction. You also want to pay attention to nipple discharge. If it's clear or bloody, anything that comes out of the nipple that is not breast milk. So you have to pay attention to that. Nipple pain. And when I say nipple pain, and I'm deliberately using this term, and I know some of you may have a question now, which I'm going to answer shortly. When I say nipple pain, I'm not talking about something that you would experience, like tenderness of the breast due to being on your menstrual cycle, or having your ovulation. You may feel some tenderness. I'm talking extreme nipple pain to the point where you can't sleep on your belly. You can't it might affect your ability to wear certain types of brasiers or certain types of clothing, or yeah, just certain types of clothing, even marinas, right? So sores on the nipple and the areola is also something that you might need to go and talk to your doctor about if you notice any of these. Enlarge, for example, you know, when you shave and you have razor bumps or whatever, if you see too much of that in your underarm area, you might need to speak to your doctor about it. Thickening or swelling, as you can see in the picture I have shown there, any irritation in your breast area, and you need to have any of these symptoms that you're seeing here, you might need to go and have a conversation with your doctor, have them do a checkup for you. But before you do that, you might also need to do a self-breast examination, which I'm going to talk to you about later as well. Now, again, I said I was deliberately not talking about something because I know some of you would have had this question. Men do get breast cancer too, right? Less than 1% though of new breast cancer cases come from men. But in that almost 1%, when men do get breast cancer diagnosis, it is often worse for them than it is for women. One of the reasons could be the fact that they don't have much tissues, breast tissues, and when the cells start multiplying, it multiplies faster to the other organs. There are other factors as well, right? So in terms, when we're looking at treatment for breast cancer, we usually look for you removing the lumps. And in women, they have the option of doing a lumpectomy, where they remove a large chunk of their breast, but they still have other tissues remaining. For men, it's often just a mastectomy. So it's just removed whichever breast they have the cancer in, right? Then it's followed by, it can be one or a combination of radiation, hormone therapy, or chemotherapy, right? I also want to take the time out here to distinguish the difference between persons who might get the diagnosis and persons who are have a worse prognosis. So while I mentioned, you know, women are more likely to be diagnosed while men are not likely, it's worse for men. Also for the women who actually get their diagnosis, white women are more likely to be diagnosed with breast cancer, but Black women actually have a worse prognosis. And another reason for this, which I did not mention for the men, is that for Black people on a whole, and men too in general, we take longer to go to see the doctor. Once we recognize that there's something, we tend to stay in the denial stage a lot longer than, say, white women, right? And so we stay in denial stage, and when we actually go to the doctor, we sort of drag our feet as well. Now, a person with a cancer diagnosis is nested in many different levels of society. When they have received their diagnosis, they now have to think about what this means for them individually, how they're going to break this news to their friends, their family, what this might mean for them. They have to think about what their community members might or might not say, and I need you to walk with me with this. As much as how we tend to see ourselves as more advanced in society and how we try to understand, to be real, it's not the case in reality, in real life. Persons may say one thing and do something else completely. And in as late as 2017, 2018, 2015, I'm hearing persons saying they've lost friends. And this is like women who have been diagnosed in Jamaica with breast cancer, who said they've lost friends after they've told them that they've been diagnosed with cancer. In the workplaces, people talk about them like, does she have breast cancer? "Hey man, you don't know, for example, they say, Jonique Tyrell, no, the lady with the breast cancer, that's like an identifying feature, which is sort of, it's labeling, it's stigma, right? So they have to think about how they share the news with persons. It takes a hardy, resilient person who has breast cancer to come out in society and have interviews and to share their stories with persons and know that they can actually tolerate any conversations that can be said about them and their family as well, right? So I also have health service provision here because they have to think about what they can afford. They have to think about their interactions with their healthcare providers, the nurses, the doctors. What does this mean for them? And also what the laws are in Jamaica as it relates to doing certain things. I spoke to a woman who she had, at 19 years old, she had 2 lumps in one breast and they were benign, meaning they weren't cancerous. And she found 1 lump in the other breast, and when she went, that was malignant. And she wanted to see, she said, you know what? My breasts at this young age are showing me that they're giving me problems. So I want them to be removed. I just want to take them off. And the doctors wouldn't remove them. She had a warm time trying to get them removed because she was saying she had 2 over one side and the one where she found over the other side is malignant. That means that maybe if another one come over, and she was 19, maybe if another one come over the other side, she probably have to take it out again. And rather than to go through all of that process, she just saved some money, saved the time and the heartache, remove them, and then she could probably do reconstructive surgery for both breasts, and the doctors wouldn't remove them. She had to change doctors. She had to move from public to private, but she had some kind of assistance financially to be able to do all of that. It's challenging at times because the doctors themselves also have certain rules and regulations that they have to do. Even just doing the biopsy, it depending on if you go to a public hospital, they don't remove the entire thing. They take a test, they take a piece of it for testing, and then they'll tell you if you can do a lumpectomy or a mastectomy. And in some countries, they remove the entire thing and then get it tested and tell you whether or not it was malignant or benign. So a person who has cancer has a lot of things that they have to navigate, not just in terms of coming clean, but how they move forward with their diagnosis. They also have what we know as stress. They have stress in their everyday lives. So my thesis, when I did my master's thesis at the University of the West Indies, was on, again, Jamaican women diagnosed with breast cancer. And one very major theme I found is that for them, their diagnosis came at a time of their lives when they were highly stressed. So think about it. In an everyday setting, you probably stressed out if you have to wake up too early in the morning, stressed out traveling to work or school. If you drive your own car, just sitting in the traffic, if you wind down your window, you have to worry about somebody trying to steal your phone if you're on the phone. If you're taking the public transportation, waiting on the bus, that is never on time, people are fight for going on the bus. You know, those things are regular life hassles. It's trying to find the money to pay for what you need to pay for or what you want to pay for, deciding or differentiating between the needs and the wants, how your money going go. Money is always a stress, and as you come in here and it done, you know, so all of those things. And then they'd also have other factors. One woman had just gone through a divorce. One woman had just lost her mom. Somebody else's husband had died. So they were there for them, their diagnosis came at a point in their lives when they were extremely stressed out. And what we need to understand is stress produces high levels of cortisol, which creates illnesses. For most of us, we get the flu, or you know, we're super irritated. We want more salty foods and so on. But for some people, they get chronic illnesses and if they already have illnesses, it might be worsened by the high levels of cortisol that their body is producing. And now they were stressed out, them get this illness, which going further stress them out. So then it becomes like a cycle, a complete cycle. So it's like them can't win. So this is something that is very important, the stress levels, and how do we combat these things. They have to, it's a challenge. And Jamaica, yeah, it's a challenge. And as I mentioned, they would have already been going through extreme cases. They would have used up a lot of their coping resources to deal with their everyday life struggles and whatever major life events would have happened, like the death of the mom, the husband, the losing, the divorce, the child who may have died, and so on. So, and that leads me to the psychosocial adjustment to an actual breast cancer diagnosis. So when a person gets the news that you have breast cancer, I need you to think like all that person really hears is cancer, cancer, cancer. Like, what does this mean now? It's cancer, that's cancer. And you have to start thinking like, oh my God, what does this mean? You're in shock. And then possibly denial. How long it takes to get over the denial might also make or break you. And it's not just the news of the cancer, just the lump, finding a lump and thinking that you need to get to a doctor, and you do your self-exam, you need to go to the doctor for the doctor to do an exam, maybe prescribe an ultrasound, you know, those steps before you get the actual diagnosis takes a toll. And it takes a hardy and resilient person to go through these different steps while trying to manage your everyday life and expenses, right? Again, the diagnosis comes and they don't know, some persons don't know what to do. I remember having a conversation with one woman, and this was one woman who had actually lost her husband to prostate cancer the year before. And she had a son, and it was a challenge with him because the minute she got her diagnosis, he shut down because again, he lost his father the year before. She had depleted her entire income trying to save her husband, and it didn't work. So there was nothing left for herself. And her family tried to help her, and she sold a lot of the things in her home, like her furniture, her appliances, the computer, the TV. And so even her son, I had to be staying at a friend's house to get his assignments done. So you see how it's not just herself, it's her family now. And she said some friends had chipped in as well. So that's at least the smaller aspect of the circle. She got a job. The first job that she had, I think she was working at a place where she dealt with packages. And think about it now, she would have had to do a lumpectomy or a mastectomy. And I'm just going to share a little bit of insight with you. When you do a simple biopsy, all they do is put a needle inside. They don't cut anything or anything. So they just put a needle inside. Doing a biopsy means that for at least a few days, you're tender. Simple things like combing your hair, lifting your hand up to wave to somebody is difficult. You know, you might have to lift up your hand because you want to wave to somebody and you remember you have to put it back down, or you feel the pain and you have to put it back down. Now imagine surgery. Even after you've come out of the hospital and that little phase before you actually start chemotherapy, or, you know, it takes up weeks, months, she couldn't be able to lift things. Again, just combing her hair is a challenge, right? Putting on her makeup, drinking a cup of water. Those are daily things that she would have to adjust to. And the fact that you have to ask persons for help. You can walk, yes, but asking persons for simple help. And a lot of us don't like asking people for help because we don't like the responses that we could get from people. So we're asking, she in her case, she's asking for money already. And now just having somebody around the house to help cook, like wash, because now she don't have a washing machine, wash, all of these things are, it's a blow to her ego, yeah? Because she's a grown woman now, she should be able to do certain things. And just trying to have a source of income to support her family, she wasn't able to do it. So even though the boss was understanding why she had to do her surgery and was more than willing to work around her chemo schedule, so if it is that she had to do chemo on a Friday, she'd take the weekend to recover and come back in Monday to Thursday and work some overtime to make up back for the hours on a Friday. That's something that they would have worked out. However, again, she couldn't lift the packages. So if he was trying to work with her, she still couldn't do her job properly, and so she lost her job. And that was another blow to her. So her entire world system basically crumbled. And even I was supposed to do this interview with her, and I was supposed to go to her home, and she kept saying, let's meet at a popular place in Halfway Tree. I was wondering why, because the other women I was speaking to was able to direct me somewhere. And when we went there and she told me her story, I recognized that she may have felt ashamed because she probably wouldn't have anywhere for me to sit down. I mean, I'm comfortable. I'm just hearing her story. I'd sit on the floor if I had to, but she, being a hostess, wouldn't have felt comfortable like that. So adjusting to a diagnosis comes with a lot of things, a whole heap of hardiness, resilience. It's something internal that persons have to first make that step to do. And sometimes they have like a support system behind them to push them forward as well. Some people won't accept the help. I remember one woman, she got the diagnosis and she said she's not cutting off her breast because if she did that, her husband will leave her. As opposed to I have another woman that when she spoke about it, she said, she showed me a picture where she was in her yard and she was wearing mesh merino, and she took off her two breasts and she's like, oh, me comfortable, all right, me I want like one of them, man. I'm like, okay. So she just had this hardiness about her, and she decided that she was going to fight. There is also a lot of their stories come to light. And this woman that I was talking about, she also had she had locks. She had locked her hair, and then she cut it off before she did her chemo. So she had the locks while she was doing her surgery, and then she cut it off before she did her chemo. And then she wore wigs, and then when her hair started growing back, she put on back the locks on there. I didn't know that was something that could have been done, but she did it nonetheless. They also shared how they actually shared the news with their family and friends. One participant said she had a bra party where she gave away her newest brassieres because she'd buy them in bulk, and her friends actually came and took some. She mentioned that they had like a cake thing where the cake was in the shape of two breasts, and they were saying, some of them said they were going to support her, and some of them she never heard from after she shared the news. So there are different ways persons can adjust. And this is basically what this slide is showing you. Some persons would cry, it's like a death sentence for them. And some persons just find a little milestone, as you can see in the picture of the last woman at in the picture there. So coping with breast cancer, it shows you how you can overcome certain obstacles and how you can find new ways forward. Some persons use humor, them just laugh through the entire situation, and they go to church. Church is a good way to find social support mechanisms. And some participants mentioned that their churches raised funds to assist them. It's not just about income, it's also about social support. It's about emotional support, having somebody to talk to. It's about hope. optimism. Those are great emotions or internal states to have when you are faced with a diagnosis of a potentially life-threatening illness. It's not just breast cancer, it's anything that could possibly affect your life. So what I wanted to also discuss with you is some things that can be done to mitigate the actual impact of breast cancer. Early detection. Early detection is key. So I mentioned a self-breast exam earlier. You know, you may want to start go ahead and feel, and it's not just women, men too. Know your body. You can't be lying around with people and sharing your body with people and you don't know your body yourself. Yeah. Sign up for critical illness plan. I know some of you are not working and you're probably stressing out over look at date you want to go on or what you're going to have for lunch today. But as soon as you get a job and you can just try and sign up for a critical illness plan, you want to have something that can give you a cushion if you get a diagnosis, not just diagnosis of cancer, it's stroke, it's any heart issues, right? And save if it's even $500 a month, one cocoa, you know. What I'd also like to say is for women, reduce taking birth control pills, or if you have to, speak to your doctor about your levels before you take any particular brand. Don't just buy one because your friends say, right? Try to exercise, don't remain inactive, do something. If it's even listening to music and doing little aerobics, dancing for like half an hour or something, do something, please. Reduce dairy in your diet and sleep, because again, cancer is something that it's cells multiplying abnormally with larger nucleus and them sucking out the nutrients from your body. So, and rest is one of the best ways that your body uses its ability to repair its own used cells, yeah? So here is an example or an image rather that can help you show you how you can do your self-examination. You would ideally strip from the top to the waist. You stand in front of your mirror and you can lift your arms up or one arm at a time. And then you can begin by examining the armpit in circular motions or up and down. And then you can also lie in bed and see if you feel any different changes. While you're doing this, you may also want to squeeze the nipple of your breast so that you can feel if you have any soreness or extra stiffness or pain that you wouldn't normally feel at that time of your cycle. Men, you can do this as well. You wouldn't have the extra step of detecting whether or not any difference occurs at an actual stage of your cycle. And that brings me to the end of my actual presentation. Should I stop sharing or should I keep this for when persons have questions?
Right. We'll be moving into the questions and answers segment now. So we're just going to ask our members and our international student who is present with us, if they have any questions, to just post them in the chat so that you may see them and address them.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Guys, don't be shy. If you have any questions any at all, just ask.
Did anybody learn anything new today? Okay, so I have a question. How early can you detect the cancer? Right. I didn't go through the different stages. I think that's more suited for somebody who's like, say, a medical professional, but cancers do have stage 1, which is where the lump is usually localized. It's very, well, often it's usually very small and that it's detected like super early. As I mentioned, you do your self-exam like every month or every couple of weeks, and you detect this early change, and then you go to your doctor about this, and you, assuming you can find the resources, you can go ahead and get this detected. That would be like a stage 1. Stage 2 is where it's still localized to the breast, meaning it hasn't spread to other areas of the body, but you can noticeably see changes. So it's rather than like say a small spot on the breast, it's in a bigger area of the actual breast. Stage 3 would be like the entire breast, probably both. And stage 4 is when it's actually metastage, it's spreading across the rest of the body. I'm surprised nobody asked me like what that would really mean, but I'm gonna, if anybody wants to, I can actually share with you. To remove an actual lump or a lumpectomy, it's about $175,000. And to stay in the actual hospital is another 80 to 100,000. So to do a mastectomy with the staying in the hospital is about $650,000. This was about 2019. That doesn't include the cost of chemotherapy, by the way, or radiation. Any other question?
I'm not sure if you're seeing, Joshua was asking, is there a large percentage of women and men having breast cancer being hereditary?
That is a big risk factor. If you have breast cancer in your family, that is a risk factor for you getting the illness. And another risk factor would be women who start their menses early, like around before age 12, or if they have late menopause. After late menopause, or women who have children after age 30, or that have children and don't breastfeed. Or did I say women who have children after age 30, or if they have children and they don't breastfeed or start breastfeeding super early, like after 3 weeks or very early. So they are at a higher risk of having breast cancer. Also, again, diet plays a huge part. The cheese, the ice cream, just try and reduce that in your daily intake as much as possible. And the sugar. Yes. Have I answered your question? Okay, great. Do you have any other questions that I may have missed? Is there such a thing as having lumpy breasts? Yes, I think the medical term is called palpable breasts. And that usually comes from, it can come from, as it relates to Joshua's question earlier about hereditary, it can come from too many caffeine, too much sugar, not sleeping enough. The doctors would call that palpable breasts. So you need to pay attention, and it's okay. Having lumps doesn't necessarily mean you have cancer, but and I haven't seen any real definitive research or correlation. I should probably read more on this. That says having more lumps puts you at, well, having more, depending on how much you have or how large they are, you're gonna fret and I guess increase your stress levels. But just having the lumps by themselves may not be higher or a high correlation to you having one that's more malignant. It might just be having a higher correlation of having more lumps. You can have a cystic breast, or as I said, palpable breast, where you have more cysts, and these are called fibroadenoma. they're not cancer tumors. So yes, you can have palpable breast. Would you say that stress is the #1 cause of breast cancer? I wouldn't say specifically related to breast cancer, but I would say that stress does have a huge impact on the development of and the worsening or the progression of any kind of cancer diagnosis or any chronic illness or any illness on a whole. Think about it. When you have a common flu, isn't it usually at a time when you're super stressed and not sleeping? Any other questions? You're welcome, Joshua. Do we have any other questions? Again, I'm just gonna say, try to have your critical illness policy as early as possible. Try to save, stay safe, keep doing your self-exams. I noticed nobody asked about the cost of actual chemotherapy. And I'm just gonna say to you, the average cost for chemotherapy is about $225,000. And that might go up by now. For about 4 treatments, you might have to do more. And if they tell you to do radiation, it's about $2 million. And if they tell you that the chemotherapy needs are a special type of chemotherapy that's called Herceptin, that is $6 million per year. So critical illness is important. Try and get that policy as soon as possible. I think this is, it's costly. It's very costly. So, any other questions? I think this is it. All right. So I'm turning back over to Jovarius, Mr. Swaby.
All right. Thank you. I think that's it as well. Thank you so much, so much, Ms. Tyrell. We on behalf of the exec, we'd just like to extend a gargantuan thank you for just honoring this function with your valuable knowledge and expertise. And in the same breath, we also want to thank the members who took the time out to be here today. We keep the meetings for you. As well, we'd like to definitely send shout out to our international student, Ms. Mulenga, who is here as well. Thank you so much for taking the time out. Once again, thank you all so much who participated for making this session a success. It really means a lot. Once again, thank you so much, Ms. Tyrell. So guys, we're just going to close here. And if you guys have any other questions, Ms. Tyrell, would you just put your email in the chat for anyone who would like to reach out? If they have any questions, that they can just send you an email if they do. All right, guys. So she posted her email in the chat. If you have any questions, you can definitely just send her an email. Once again, guys, thank you so much for taking the time out to be here, and we will definitely see you next week. We have so many things in store next week for you guys, so just come on out, and we'll definitely see you there. Enjoy the rest of your day. Study hard for your exams, and I wish you all the best in your exams when they do come. So take care, everyone. Bye.